Hey, true believers and fellow theme park fans. We're on both channels, Disney and the Homegrown Tourist, and I Love Comics right now. So I got to talk about WandaVision. As a matter of fact, I had to talk about WandaVision so much that we started this. This is totally impromptu. Hello to Comic Works, by the way. We are. Hold on, just a sec. So anyway, I watched episode 5, and the ending. Now, all throughout the episode, I gotta tell you, I did enjoy it. We're gonna go over some stuff, but the ending made me go, "What?" And then I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And I'm talking to my wife, Gail. Oh, but it was because this thing. Holy crap! And she's like, "Who cares?" So what's that mean? So because she's not real, she just doesn't know. She understands. She's seen the movies because I've seen the movies. She watches the TV shows and everything, but she doesn't know. So I needed to talk to some geeks. I needed to get the geek out here, so to speak. There will be spoilers. We're going to talk about all 5 episodes. This is why I called it Meeting WandaVision Halfway. We're going to talk about all 5 episodes, and we are going to assume that you have seen it too. That's why
there be spoilers.
Yes, I haven't. That's why I didn't spoil anything before. I'm telling you, but from here on in, we're gonna spoil the hell out of everything. And I do want to talk about the past episodes too, because we haven't really discussed it yet, and I want to be able to talk about all the things that happened before. Therefore, this led us up to now. It is watching this play out, by the way, watching actually the reactions and the whole thing to the entire TV show has been really interesting, because this is a slow burn. They've been giving, if you watch any episode, you get so many clues as to stuff that's happening. Some of them were red herrings. Some of them were people reading way too much into stuff. And then, of course, you would definitely be getting, certain clues that about what was going on. I got to tell you, the episode, I think it was called "We Interrupt This Episode" or whatever.
We interrupt this program.
That's it. We interrupt this program. That I loved it, because it was like, yeah, here are all the things you guys are talking about, and then they just laid it out. It's also, I noticed not a lot of people are enjoying the whole sitcom trope. The whole fact that, like, the first episode is Dick Van Dyke. Second episode was the Bewitched, and then the third episode was kind of like the Brady Bunch, and then they skipped, and this episode that happened right now today was Family Ties. Yeah, the house, when they showed the house, I went, Family Ties. And then when they do the opening and they start off with a painting, I was like, oh my gosh, they're like ripping that right off.
I don't know if this is just me being weird and insular and an old soul, quote unquote, but I can't imagine growing up in America and not knowing at least some of these sitcoms. Like I was always raised on like TV Land and Nick at Night, so I get the retro references, but I can't imagine a person my age not knowing like what. Well, Dick Van Dyke or I Love Lucy or
some of them you would know by osmosis. Even if you didn't watch the show itself, you probably know who Lucille Ball is.
Yeah,
it's just I mean, she's not just TV; she's iconic.
Yeah, they referenced her in American Gods, for crying out loud.
Yeah, there and I think that's part of. I think that's one of the things that they're kind of relying. They're relying on. Okay, what if I don't want to cast to my TV? Okay. I've got to my TV. Don't need that. All right. By the way, I was clicking on the video in case we wanted to share a scene or something. But yeah, I get it. It's some shows, like, I don't think a lot of people these days are as familiar with Dick Van Dyke as people in my generation. I just don't think I don't see it being as heavily pushed when and that just happens by the way we were consuming media right now. When
Yeah, I
when
think
I
Dick
was a
Van
kid,
Dyke got established in that show, and then he went on to do so many other things that people know him better for.
well,
like
yeah, of
being
course,
Burt,
Mary
Poppins
Poppins
and stuff.
is
Yeah.
one of the greatest films of all time, and I say that without hesitation or irony. I truly believe that. But the thing is when I was a kid, we had three main channels: ABC, NBC, CBS, and then you might have you might have had, you got your local, which was channel 35 for us, and it turned into Fox. But then you also had that one on the other end of the UHF dial where you had all the way to the very end. And if you're lucky, it was a show you understood, or some sort of Telemundo thing. So it was always a toss up. So when I was a kid, if your local channel would be showing the same thing, and it would be more of a shared experience. You know, like right now, we're talking about WandaVision, and some people might have not seen it. However, if it was back in the day, it would have been at 8 o'clock. Everybody would have been glued to their TV shows. And at 8:30,
and then you talk about it at the water cooler the next day.
The water cooler, the lunch line, yeah, whatever. Eric's saying, tell us about the old days, Grandpa. Right. Says somebody who actually remembers watching Dick Van Dyke on TV. Yeah, the first run. Oh, and you had to walk a mile to change the channel. I know. Now it's like the remote's out of my reach. Okay, I'm not going to change the channel. But this is good. Yeah. But so I actually have been enjoying just watching the aesthetics of the show change. I kind of like that, and you getting a little piece here, a little piece there. She finds the helicopter, and it's in color, so you know it doesn't belong, and every little bit like that. The beekeeper, that had me a little confused. Like, I was like, okay, so what's going on with the beekeeper? Why is he's got a sword level? He's got bees flying around him, because they actually had the sound, and I'm thinking swarm maybe, but no, it just turns out to be a guy who went through a tunnel.
Yeah, it's a guy in a hazmat suit, but Wanda alters everything
right
to be period appropriate whenever you interact with her hexing. So
yeah, and they actually talked about, and once again, if you just joined us, spoiler heavy, man. We are talking spoilers about WandaVision episodes 1 through today. Okay, so if you haven't seen 5, we're going to be bouncing in and out of it, and we're definitely going to be talking about 5. So make sure that if you want to see it spoiler free, we're going to I'll give this warning occasionally, but I'm not going to remember every time. In this episode, they actually talk about how when things go through, she not only alters them, but she alters them permanently. And that's when they say, okay, we're going to send in this drone from the 1980s. And a lot of this is like trying to remember, wait, did we have those? I mean, the Army might have, but I know like we weren't tooling around with that.
Well, but this is also the Marvel Universe, so God only knows what the...
Yeah, you could take it like that.
Brain trust of Howard Stark and S.H.I.E.L.D. came up with, so yeah.
I hope everyone sold their Swarm first appearance before episode 4. Let's see. I love how they even... Okay, so by the way, alrighty. So anyway, we're gonna get to the major spoiler, by the way, at the end.
Yeah, the devil's in the details.
And I'm saying this. I'm saying this as in a polite way to tell Jimmy to shut the fuck up for a while. Okay. So anywho, because I'm getting to to the ending in just a little bit. One of the things, though, that happened in this episode, because we're finding out Wanda, who's doing this to you through the radio, or, Wanda, what's going on. But I figured she was definitely in control the moment she said, No. I mean, you got to figure in the first episode, they're talking, the guy starts choking, they're at dinner, and the woman from the 70s show goes, stop it, stop it, stop it, you know, and she's begging Wanda basically to do her thing. So you kind of get an idea that she's controlling it completely there. But when she sends the beekeeper back, she actually rewinds things. She goes, no, like, this is not the way I want this to go. No. So that should have been the big clue right there, that she is in control of everything. Nobody's doing this to her. She's doing it herself. However, I know you have a theory that we're going to get to in just a little bit about the fact that Wanda is not completely in control anyway, even though everybody thinks she is. And this one, though, she goes villain. When she took that drone and she goes outside of the dome, by the way, and we find all of the sword people, they actually put a weapon in the dome, in the drone, and fired it at her. And they hear something going on with the energy, and Wanda walks out. She throws the drone at him, and she basically tells him to go screw off, or we'll take care of you. Remember, we're on Disney as well. So did I cuss earlier?
Speaking of which, government stooge guy, have you never seen any alien being contained by government movie ever in history? You've never seen E.T., you've never seen Men in Black. You never shoot at the hostile entity. Mm-hmm. This should be common understanding at this point.
Yeah, and she was flat out showing all sorts of strength. Now, there was a scene that I loved it, and LK's bringing it up here. They are talking about, wait, she's never shown these kind of powers. She's never shown these kind of powers before, and they mentioned, well, she could have taken Thanos by herself if they hadn't caused the barrage. And then Jimmy, Agent Chu, says, well, Captain Marvel could have. There is a brilliant freaking shot and reaction in that. I loved it. I freaking loved it, because Chu is in the background, and Rambeau is in the foreground. So it goes, when they say, well, you know, Wanda could have taken it. It's focused on Monica Rambeau. And then he says, well, Captain Marvel. And as soon as it says Captain Marvel, it goes back to Monica Rambeau. And she kind of does this kind of thing. It's just very subtle. I noticed it. Maybe I'm reading more into it.
No, I saw it too. It's definitely an ooh, I really don't want to think about this right now. Kind of reaction that she had, and it was nice.
It was a great throwback to those of us who hashtag Carol Danvers, not my Captain Marvel, give me Monica Rambeau, which I am totally on that team for. So I love that. I love that reaction shot. It was so freaking cool, amazing to me. But that just also, by the way, I want to talk about the whole sword team. At first, you know, we see him as like the claw in Inspector Gadget. The very first episode, it pulls back and we see somebody writing down something, and it's just the one hand. And I really did. I expected to hear, Gadget.
I'll get you next time, Wanda.
Right. Yeah. It was very, very Inspector Gadget out of him. But when we finally met him, I'm very happy to have seen, you know, we got Agent Chu, who was in the Ant-Man movies. But
they made us like Darcy, which I wasn't expecting ever.
Yeah, I know. A lot of people believe Kat Dennings is the worst thing about Thor movies. I do believe you are on that team.
Among the worst things in the Thor movies, excluding the third one, the Thor movies were broken things.
Well, I enjoy. Well, actually, I don't think there's really, except for Captain Marvel, there's not a Marvel movie I don't enjoy on some level. Captain Marvel is a mess up from beginning to end, so I didn't.
Yeah,
but I can enjoy. I even enjoy Dark World, which is generally considered the worst of them on a certain level. I can enjoy it.
It's not terrible. It just doubled down on a lot of the things in the first Thor that I didn't like, and that was in my opinion, that was the wrong direction. I would have liked to have seen something more akin to Ragnarok in the second Thor instead of saving it for the third one. Because I do like the fact that when the MCU does make a mistake, they're usually pretty good about correcting it.
Yeah.
Even if the movie or the property makes money, Kevin Feige is still smart enough to know, we could have done a better take on that. So let's try that.
Yeah, it's but I gotta say, I like this cast of characters. And they didn't have in this episode, I forget who it is who's the name of the guy who's running the show. The one that Wanda had all the guns trained on him.
Is it Hamish or
I forgot.
Hayworth or Hay something. It's
if you guys remember, by all means, let me know. But
yeah,
but so
for purposes of plot summarization, he's generic douchebag government stooge guy.
Yeah. So also, I guess if we're talking about the entire show, certain things we need to touch upon. Agatha Harkness. I said it right this time?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I was calling her Agatha Harker or something like that the first time.
It's Harkness, which makes sense because in the show it's shortened to Agnes, and I think they're gonna I think that's gonna be a bait and switch that are gonna reveal later.
I like this actress. She's been around for 15, 20 years now or so, but she's always in a bit part in a comedy, and I really like her in this so far. She's playing the nosy neighbor to whatever era of, and like this time she was I'll bust in, I'll say a whole bunch of fast lines.
Yeah, in the Bewitched episode, she was basically the Gladys of Wanda and Vision's Bewitched.
The nosy neighbor, yeah. And I think she's really nailing this. Now, from the preview, we know at a certain time Vision wakes her up and she's begging for help. That kind of goes against what we think that Director Hayward, thank you, LK, is the guy who's running Sword. Now, we all believe that she's working for the big bad guy, who I guess there's been some rumors going around as to whom it's going to be. But you believe it is
the devil in the detail, aka Mephisto.
Mephisto, yes. Let's not still spoil this ending yet. I want to talk about the big reveal at the very end when it comes time. But now, if Agatha is working for Mephisto, does she know, or is she still under the influence of Wanda? Or does she understand that the Vision is waking him up? So she acts like she's being woken in that particular scene. That's the big question.
I think it might be a little bit of D, all of the above kind of situation. I think she has her own schemes, her own method to the madness somewhere, and I think Mephisto is either thinking that she can or that he can use her, or that she thinks she can use him. And then I think Wanda is, I think most of WandaVision is going to be revealed to basically be her PTSD of losing everything that she loved. And I think it's going to, if you put a gun to my head and ask me, I think I would tell you that it's going to be framed as though Wanda is the big bad villainess, but in the aftermath and how all this shakes out, it's going to be revealed that Wanda was just trying to recapture some semblance of normalcy and some semblance of happiness, and her grief and pain were used both by Agatha Harkness and by Mephisto to try and accomplish whatever schemes they're scheming.
Yeah, but is Mephisto going to be this season's? Because here's the thing: we already have our mid-season villain. A lot of TV shows will work out where you go for a few episodes and you think A is the villain, and then by the end of the season you realize B is the villain. And it may be that the B villain is going to be Agatha or now I'm saying it wrong.
Agatha Harkness.
Agatha Harkness. But then it's a big reveal for season 2 that it's actually Mephisto.
I don't think there's going to be a season 2. I think WandaVision is intended to be a mini-series, and I think it's supposed to set up the multiverse trilogy.
So if we bring in Mephisto, he's actually going to maybe be Doctor Strange or somebody along the line.
I think he's going to be involved in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I would expect we'll see 2 or 3 or 4 major cosmic entities / villains in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, because they keep putting it on dates that make it the big crossover event, which I don't necessarily know if I like. But if they're gonna make a big deal out of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, I'm expecting that's where the proverbial excrement is hitting the proverbial fan.
Okay. The other theory is Nightmare, but I don't see it. In this particular case, I don't see it.
Especially not with all the red theming.
Yeah.
Because
that's Scarlet Witch. That doesn't have anything more to do. I don't think it's Mephisto with the red theming. That is when Scarlet, because
but I think it might end up being revealed that her power comes from his dimension.
Okay.
Ultimately.
Okay.
If I had to guess.
Let's see. I actually Kwame saying I actually think it's not her, because the end she actually seems like she didn't know what was happening. I still think it's Agatha Harkness who could change her appearance to look like Wanda. I don't think. Well, Agatha was there, right, when with the big reveal at the end. Before we talk about that, though, there are 2 things that popped up in the last episode that's in this one. We got to talk about the kids. You know more than I do, so I'll let you go.
Okay, so in the comics, at one point, Wanda lost Vision, much as she did in the MCU series of events. And it was implied that she created out of chaos magic 2 children that would be her and Vision's children. In the long run, though, it was revealed that she could only accomplish that by channeling the energies of Mephisto, which Mephisto took advantage of to manifest himself on the mortal plane. Now, through cosmic shenanigans, the twins ended up being real anyway, but originally they were essentially avatars for Mephisto, and it was Mephisto's attempt to break from his dimension onto the mortal plane. And I'm thinking they're going to set up something similar to that, just because of how the twins appear to be immune to her power. Now, there's 2 explanations as to why they might be immune to her power. They might be immune to her power because they're real, as in she created solid constructs and so she can't alter them, or they might be unaffected by her power because they're made of Mephisto's energy and his power is overriding hers, or some combination of the 2. But ultimately, I think what's going to happen is they're going to be revealed to basically be the Rosemary's Babies of the Marvel Universe, and Mephisto is going to try to use them to manifest into the mundane world, but Wanda is going to overpower him, or at least stymie him, and then the twins are going to end up being made properly real, and we're going to get Wiccan and Speed as part of the upcoming Young Avengers, would be my guess.
Oh, and by the way, how many 1980s kids got a freaking kick out of this? This was definitely the aesthetic was Family Ties, and when they went into this, I was like, holy crap! The whole the whole thing, it was just right out of it was right out of the TV show. It was a lot of fun. It was very I was like, oh, it's Family Ties, because it's when they showed the house, I thought Family Ties, but when they did the opening, I was like, okay, there you go, gang. Thank you very much for bringing that bit of nostalgia. And I'm pretty sure a lot of the show is it really is steering into the nostalgia factor, and
it also gives Wanda some interesting characterization, because this is the reality she all of these sitcoms and cycling through all these sitcoms is the reality she would choose to create if she were basically omnipotent. Which means that she must be one of the biggest sitcom fangirls in history.
Well, the credit combo was Family Ties at the beginning and Growing Pains with the photos flipping, says LK. I forgot the Growing Pains thing. The one thing that you would have to think of is about the sitcoms is this is exactly what she would want. She's afraid of losing her family. She lost her brother. She lost her husband. She wants people to stay together. The funny thing, Venkman, he's saying can't wait till they do Married with Children. Right now they're arguing, by the way. In 90s sitcoms, a lot of them were in response to the 80s. 80s was more saccharine, and this is why I think I think she's doing this. She doesn't want everything to be chaos. She wants everything to be
a nice, neat little world where everything gets resolved in nice, what a lot of half-an-hour segments.
That's what a lot of sitcoms were. Easily fixed, easily done. 30 minutes and all problems go away. That's the sitcom world that she wants to live in. And I think that's why she lives there now. In this episode, people are starting to wake up, and Vision is actually starting to wake up and realizing that even he's being manipulated. He has a conversation with a guy that he works with, and he wakes him up. Hold on just a sec. Dun, dun. He wakes this guy up, and the guy goes nuts, and he's realizing that these people are actually hurting. And I can't show too much, but I want to show some when I'm talking about it at the very least. So, you know, he's starting to argue. So if he does go back under, then Venkman might actually get his wish, and we might actually get a Married with Children version of WandaVision. I don't think they will, but fingers crossed. I mean, it is a Fox show, but you know,
I think if we do get something along those lines, that will be a sign that everything's about to unravel.
Yeah.
But I think the thing with Vision is because he is made of her power, he will start to realize that he has some level of control over the world as well, like how he was able to wake the guy up in the first place. And I think it's ultimately going to come down to him basically being the angel on her shoulder, and Agatha and Mephisto in the form of who he's in the form of now, which I'm not going to reveal yet, is going to play the devil on her shoulder, and she's going to have to choose between the nice, neat, everything is glossy and perfect and sitcom-y world, and the tendency to want to actually help people, and to it's gonna test her emotional fortitude as to whether she'll make the deal, which is another reason why I think it's Mephisto, of you can stay in this nice, neat sitcom world where everything gets resolved in 30 minutes, or you can listen to the person you love, but then immediately the person you love is going to die, and also, by the way, I'll take your kid. I think it's going to be the maneuver that that Agatha and Mephisto end up pulling is, you know, Wanda, if you leave this world, your kids have to go too. Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah. Evil Black Cat came in. We are doing a very spoiler-heavy review of the first 5 episodes, including the one that came out today. And that's what we're on. We're really focusing on episode 5 right now. So welcome. But if you haven't seen it and you want to see it without spoilers, I will warn you about that. Now, Snatch is saying they're going to do Full House because, of course, Elizabeth Olsen being the younger sister to the Olsen twins. And then we've got, let's see, Mech saying from the promos, it looks like Roseanne instead of Married with Children. I could see that because Married with Children is
Yeah.
bit of a acquired taste to some people.
I
Loved it.
also,
One of my favorite comedies of all time. But I get it. It's very much about it was something nobody had ever seen before.
Yeah.
As far
Eventually, though, we've got to get into Modern Family because they seem to in the trailers there seems to be a lot of moments where she's addressing the camera directly, and that's very much a Modern Family kind of thing.
Yeah. I mentioned that I mentioned Wanda going bad guy. This is the scene where she walks out and she basically tells him, "Go away. This is my world." They even mentioned to her that you're holding hostages, and that doesn't seem to faze her. There's nothing about the hostages that makes her think, okay, well,
Yeah, she's very clearly not well. I'm not sure though if they're gonna make her go full evil. My money, if I had to put money on anything, is gonna be that this is gonna be like Avengers Disassembled when she goes nuts and Doctor Strange comes in and has to be the one to wake her up. And then
that I could see that happening because of course we got Chu and Monica Rambeau also saying, she's depressed, she's not evil. They show a scene of her breaking into Sword to steal the Vision's body, and that's why he's here. But the question there, the morally ambiguous question is, what were they doing with his body to begin with? And it seems like they were going to make him into some kind of weapon, which Wanda definitely knows that he wouldn't have wanted. So that might be why she did that. But I kind of dug this bit where, like, with a wave of her hand, she gets everybody on her side. It's like, we're done. So it's interesting to say the least. But after she does that, there's a breakdown. Like, they're talking about the kids who have now grown up to about 10 in one episode have a dog, and he goes missing, and the mailman here says he won't get far, your mom won't let him. So there's a breakdown. She's actually either letting people wake up a little bit or understand that they are being controlled or be more vocal about it, or
she's losing control.
Yeah,
which might imply that she wasn't in control entirely to begin with, and they just let her think that.
And this is where this is the scene that made me think of that she is not 100% doing this. They find the dog, or at least Agatha finds the dog for him, wraps it up. She didn't want to do the reveal, but we find out that the dog ate leaves that he shouldn't have, and he was poisoned and died. And she gives a speech to the boys where she's talking about how you have to accept death, which is, of course, all of this is
her trying not to.
Yeah, she can't accept it. So this gives you a sense of she's not 100% in control either.
She's starting either to learn to cope or she's being made to.
It's hard to see Bettany pull off an Al Bundy. Yeah, and that right there is the biggest that little scene. And this is one of the things I was telling people when, like, in the first episode, you would have people, "Oh, I hate WandaVision because of," I'm like, it's
such a slow burn. How can this be entertaining?
I mean, I even saw I sometimes watch I mean, he's famous, you probably guys have heard him, if YouTube famous anyway, Jeremy Johns. Jimmy John.
Jeremy. You had it right the first time.
Who's Jeremy
Johns?
Jimmy John is a thing, though, right?
Yeah, but it's a
sub shop. Never mind. Okay, Jeremy John. He's a critic, and he does this thing. And he talks about WandaVision, and he's like, "Oh, it's slow, and it's only 15 minutes with 30 minutes attached to it." I'm like, no, you're getting story bits like this all the way through. And this little scene where she's talking to her boys about their dog being dead and accepting it is a huge character moment and a huge chunk of what happens in the story.
Yeah. Character development.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that would get brushed away from in early episodes. The whole scene with the guy choking, stop it, that I brought up earlier. Huge scene. Even little bits with the Vision. The Vision is a little bit more bumbling. and he's a little bit more he's not as Vision like from like in the movies and everything. And
because that's the kind of husband that she wants on some level.
One, it's the sitcom husband. Two, okay, maybe that's the way she wants it. But I also figured three, because he's brought back from the dead. He's not 100% him.
Yeah, she can't sustain all of this and him at the same time without plot holes, essentially, to use sitcom lingo.
Yep. And Snatch is saying this is the world-ending power that she should have had in Infinity War, but they had to nerf her so Thanos could be a threat. Actually, they brought up in this episode that Thanos, she could have beaten Thanos single-handedly. Yeah.
Well, in the MCU's defense, I think the implication is that she doesn't understand her power, that she's just learning how to tap into it, which is why I think it's going to be an Avengers Disassembled kind of situation where Wanda is going to lose control, and either Agatha, Mephisto, or some combination of the two are going to try and put her back under control, and then Doctor Strange is going to show up and
we see that in this episode. We see that in this episode, and I'm going to speak a little bit against what Evil Black Cat is saying. Wanda, when her dog dies, it's okay. Life happens. What I think that is I think it's her trying to get control of her life again.
It's her subconscious, working her slowly and gently back to quote unquote reality.
But then of course, I think whatever's holding her kind of gets her back. So when Vision right here confronts her, and he's like, he says, "You can't control me like you control them."
Mm-hmm.
She says, "Can't I?" And that is look, that is a great look right there, because if he doesn't have free will, he is just the object. He is just a thing, and it's her. But is it really her? It's her falling back into the delusion. It's her being pulled back
even if everything is her, even if this is all her power doing it, on some level, on like a subconscious level, she has to know that this isn't right. And I think that's ultimately what Vision is going to be. Is he's going to be the angel on her shoulder, being like, I'm the part of you that loves, I'm the part of you that wants to let me go so you can move on. And then Mephisto and Agatha are going to be like, no, Wanda, why don't you stay? Make the deal, sign the contract, because Mephisto, and this can be your life forever, and you can keep your kids. But if you fully let go of this, then I'm gonna have to take your kids back, aren't I, Wanda? You don't want that. Wink, wink.
Yeah, and that obviously gets to an actual confrontation between the two. So that was something. And when it comes right down to it, it was Vision and her. We get a knock on the door, and I think this is the big pull in. I think this is people are starting to wake Wanda up, so we need the big reveal.
Yeah.
And that happens right here. And I'm telling you right now, gang, major spoilers. If you have not listened to me before, listen to me now. Major spoilers here. But she opens the door to find her brother, Pietro.
Played by Evan Peters.
But yes, not
from
Marvel Universe Pietro. This is X-Men Universe Pietro. And that's when I geeked out. That's when I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Holy crap. You can't, just because not only have they brought in Pietro and he's alive again, or at least alive with quote, they brought in the X-Men universe. And I was like, oh yes. All right. However, you have a theory.
Yeah. And the rub is to quote a really great Elvis Presley song, "You're the devil in disguise." So
you think this is actually this is actually Mephisto?
Yes. I don't think this is going to be the actor they end up going with for Mephisto either, by the way.
Yeah.
I think when things start to unravel, it's going to be revealed to have been a shapeshift or a glamour, and whatever actor Marvel picks for Mephisto is going to actually be revealed then.
Yeah, and maybe so, but I gotta tell you, just to have the two universes converge, we knew it was gonna happen. I am so glad they did it this way. One of the biggest things I hated about any marketing of any movie was when they revealed Spider-Man in Civil War. I know a lot of people got excited. I got excited. Ditko eyes. But I thought, what if they didn't tell us? You know, what if they didn't tell us and we were in the and we were just in the theater and he yelled Underoos and then Spider-Man appeared.
I think because everyone on some level thought it was impossible, that was an important, that might have been an important thing to kind of tip your hand about. Because
yeah,
otherwise,
I'm still saying, I think just on an artistic level, it would have been so much better. I had no freaking clue that Peters was attached to this. I try to avoid spoilers, so I had no clue that he was attached to this. And when they opened the door, I saw the gray hair. I thought, did they brought back what? And I was thinking they brought back what's his name, the Kick-Ass, and
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Yeah, to quote Evil Black Cat, you didn't see this coming. Wasn't Pacino rumored to be cast in WandaVision? He could play Mephisto. He played the devil in that Keanu Reeves piece of crap.
Oh God.
Yeah, it could happen. Seems a tough.
I'd prefer a British actor. Just me personally, but that's just me.
Okay. I don't know. I can see it. Al Pacino, sure, why not? Let's have a devil who's Italian.
Well, not only that, but Al Pacino has played the devil before, and he was good at it. So
yeah. So anyway, this episode got me incredibly excited. I loved it.
Yeah, and
but then again, I'm loving the show. I've loved it. I've loved every freaking episode of this show. I kind of liked We Interrupt This Program. I loved all the others. The Interrupt This Program, the only reason why I kind of liked it versus loved it is because we had all these little mysteries and we had all these little things and they were given to us little bit. And as you were going, it was revealing a bigger picture.
Yeah.
We Interrupt This Program, episode 4, said, here you go. No, it was episode 4 just said, here you go. Here's all the answers.
Yeah, but
the great thing,
the great thing is, I don't think it was all the answers. I think it was just some of the answers, and this is what I was saying to you before we went on air. Think of where we were 4 episodes ago, and remember that there are 4 episodes left. If they keep up this kind of pace, if they keep up this kind of Marvel's Twin Peaks level of weirdness, where on God's green earth could we possibly be in 4 more episodes?
Yeah. So, anywho, I got it. So, obviously, you and I are definitely on this episode was good. So far, the show has been great page. Yeah. I've heard people write this show off with 1 episode. Sucks to be them.
Yeah, I got in an argument on Twitter with I believe it was Justin Proper, who's a guy who is adjacent to the Phantom Menace, and he was saying after the first 2 episodes dropped, "Oh, this is stupid. This is so boring. This is this." And I was like, dude, there are 9 episodes. It's a deliberate homage to classic cheesy sitcom tropes, and the reveal is the point. So I'm feeling very smug right about now because we're a little bit over halfway through, and I'm already feeling satisfied. So again, I can't wait to see where we go in 4 more episodes. And honestly, I'm really glad that this was the first thing we ended up getting shown for Phase 4, because originally it was supposed to be Black Widow, and then and then Loki, and then a bunch of other stuff first. But after Endgame, I think everyone who knows me knows I was extremely black-pilled because I see Endgame as a step backwards rather than a step forwards. And this was exactly the level of weird I needed to get me at least ready, get me thinking, okay, Marvel, I trust you enough to see where you're going with this. After Endgame, I was very much in the, you made me wait 10 years and you're giving me nothing. God dang it.
Well, I obviously am a little different when it comes to the Marvel movies than you are. I'm one of, and I've mentioned this. This is not a surprise. I've been through countless crime procedure, buddy cop movies, romantic comedies, whatever dramas.
It's time for the era of the comic book.
Endless slasher films, and and every time they release a superhero anything, they say, "Are we tired of superhero movies?" I say no. I'm not even tired of the bad ones. I wish they would be good, sure. But so long as you're making the movies, eventually you're going to get to the good one. Eventually you're going to get to the, and I'm going to appreciate that. So no, I'm not.
And that's why I agree with you on that, because when there's a bad horror movie, nobody says, "Is this the end of the horror genre?"
Yeah.
Or when there's a bad action movie, no one goes, "Is this the end of the action genre?" Yeah, no. You constantly asking every time there might potentially be a bad superhero movie, "Is this the end of the superhero genre?" makes it starkly obvious that you have a personal vendetta against comic book movies and you don't like to see them succeed. Well, screw off, frankly, on that regard. Treat comic book movies as valid as every other genre, and then maybe they'll quiet down a little bit. But the more you amp up what comic book genre has to prove to be worthy in your eyes, the more people are going to try, and the more you won't get rid of comic book movies.
Alrighty, and as you guys know, it's not necessary for super chats to get your voice heard. It's accepted and thanked. Almighty Jack saying "woo" and apparently sold a Spawn on eBay. Congratulations. I'm loving your comment, Chad. I love for this. Thank you very much, and that kind of makes me sad a little bit. Let's see. I like the truly stunning and brave experimentation with a streaming movie sitcom MCU comic book form. True work of art. I think that streaming kind of lends itself to better stories. Just because it gives it more time. We've got a 10-hour movie or a 9-hour movie, or however long the episodes are. Point being is, with WandaVision, you've got that. As far as The Punisher was concerned, you got a good 10-hour movie. Sometimes you only need 8, but it gives them more time to get a lot of character in there, and I do appreciate that. And sometimes you get Iron Fist season 1.
Yeah.
Let's see. Actually, I didn't care. I didn't hate Iron Fist. Everybody else. The
problem is the showrunner for Iron Fist season 1, who was also the showrunner for the massively ill-fated Inhumans, Scott Buck, appears to be the Joel Schumacher of Marvel, in the sense that he doesn't know anything about how to adapt comic book content, and he doesn't care. Or if he does care, he has such a wrong-headed perspective, it doesn't work ever.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just
the Inhumans. We'll have to make a list. There are certain is very happy that I am on a lot of comic book products and such like that, as far as TV is concerned, or movies. There are things that I absolutely detest and will never watch again. Birds of Prey. I'm sorry, that just slipped.
Yeah, cough, cough, wink, wink.
Yeah, there are movies that I'll say, well, that's enjoyable. Meaning, I know it's a bad movie, but I still had fun with it. Or there's movies where I'll say that's a good movie, like what was the Logan. Yeah, I think that's an actual great movie.
Or Joker.
Jokers, yeah, but there are movies that I will say are bad, and Birds of Prey is a movie that I consider an actual bad film. Here, just to make you realize where that falls. I actually have learned how to enjoy Batman and Robin. So while I will never in my entire life call it a good movie, I can say on certain levels it's enjoyable. If you go in understanding that Joel Schumacher wasn't making a continuation of Tim Burton's Batman.
The Burton films. He was making essentially a big budget adaptation of the 60s.
Yeah. So. When you realize that, it's a lot easier to take and it's a lot easier to enjoy. Let's see. This has given me a flicker of hope. The next stage MCU might not be terrible. I was almost out after Captain Marvel Endgame and the subsequent announcements. The one thing that got me about the announcements was that they're all race-based or they're all gender-based or sex-based. Nothing about story. Well, the Eternals came out and we love this story by Neil Gaiman, so we're going to be adapting that. We're going to be putting our own spin on it. I hope you guys enjoy it. Definitely go check that out. That way you have an idea of what's coming up. That would have been really cool.
To his credit, Kevin Feige was focused mostly on the Jack Kirbyism of it, so that's a good sign.
But instead, the announcements were, oh, we're going to be doing this, and we're going to make sure we have Benetton ad. We're going to make sure we have a black guy. We're going to make sure we have an Indian guy. We're going to make sure we have a woman in the place of a man that used to be a guy. We're going to make sure that we have an Asian. We're going to make sure that we have this. And somewhere in there, we might toss in a transgendered person. The fuck does that have to do with the story?
Yeah, nothing. And by the way,
sorry guys, I'm homegrown tourist. I apologize. I try to keep the language off this channel.
And by the way, Marvel, if we're going to be playing this box checking game, I had better get my cute gay couple out of this because we already have Wiccan. I want Hulkling too. Darn you.
Alrighty. What? Oh yeah, I was about to say what Deadpool 2 didn't give you enough gay people. Let's see. I haven't seen any of the show, but I'd like to maybe when they put it out on disc. Now, one thing that Jimmy Johns did say was that. Pardon?
Jeremy Johns.
Okay, one thing Jeremy Johns did say, and I do agree with this, is that this may have been a better dump show. I get it. You want to release it one episode a week. And of course it gives, we're going to be doing this, by the way, now that we're all cut up, it gives a YouTuber different content every time it comes out, for sure. But this may have been a better show to have just
binge watch.
Yeah, that way we could binge watch. The little clues would have been revealed a lot quicker. You would have gotten.
It would have been so addictive. I could see people watching this 2 or 3 times through just because they needed to get everything.
Yeah. Let's see. This at least keeps us on our feet rather than knowing exactly where they're going. We have an idea, but we don't know how it's going to happen, says Mech, which I completely agree with on that. Majority of comic book movies have been average to subpar for a while now. I blame Marvel. Look, I enjoy Marvel movies. I do. That is the truth. But to ignore the fact that they're homogenized, you got to be lying to yourself. If you go back and you watch the originals, if you go back and you watch Captain America: First Avenger, Thor, Iron Man, they all had their own aesthetics in their cinematography. They were their own movies. Some were shot darker. For some reason, Thor was shot like a Batman villain. They were Dutch angle, by the way, is that's called. But they all had their own look. But when Feige came on and he started saying, okay, we're going to make them all interconnect and everything, they started looking the same. And they stopped shooting on film. And I think that took away a lot as well. So they really did start looking, they literally started looking the same.
I more blame that the genre is still fairly young, all things considered. And I think one of the reasons why the Marvel formula was as consistent as it was for so long is because Kevin Feige, I think, at least realized that they are the ones who set what that genre, the limits of what that genre is. They're the ones who set the ground rules. Because every other comic book movie or franchise before this was just kind of an island unto itself and didn't really form a consistent genre. Or a lot of times studios would actively edit out all the comic booky stuff in comic book movies and turn them into just generic sci-fi action movies. I think when we look back on this in 20 years, we're going to see that the MCU was the beginning of the comic book genre proper, and therefore they had to set the ground rules. I think as time goes by, we're going to see more movies like Logan, M. Night Shyamalan's superhero trilogy, Joker, a lot more movies like that, and we're going to kind of see, oh, I see, the genre was still growing when they did those. So it took a while to establish the rules and then begin to break them.
Almighty Jack saying the MCU peaked at Iron Man 1. I disagree. To me, pound for pound, movie for movie, nothing beats the Captain America franchise. By the way, that is something a lot of people don't get. The Marvel movies are not a franchise. Marvel is a studio. The franchise is Captain America. The franchise is Thor. The franchise is Guardians of the Galaxy.
The individual franchise. Yeah. And I would agree, among like quality and consistency, I think Captain America has gotten off the best as far as that goes. And I would also disagree that Iron Man 1 was the best one. I think Iron Man 1 was the baseline. I think every movie is judged good or bad in as to whether it was better or worse than Iron Man 1 was. I think that's that Iron Man 1 is the starting place, is 0 on the graph. So I think every Marvel movie compared to Iron Man 1 is either going to be, was this better than Iron Man 1 or was this worse?
Right. Rate this saying a series could build at slower rate and you get to know the characters. I found that the first Captain America movie didn't have the time to really build the relationship between Cap and Bucky. I just praised the movie, but that is a flaw I can see. I think I agree with that because as soon as we saw the dynamic of their friendship in the beginning of the film, he was sent off the war. And then by the time, all we knew is that they were friends, and then he rescues them. And before they could really show a bond, he's killed in the movie. So I can understand where Wraith is coming from.
I think it's made up for in Winter Soldier because Winter Soldier makes it very clear that the entire franchise of Captain America revolves around that bromance relationship between Cap and Bucky.
Also, hello to Graphic Man, and Almighty Jack's also saying the first Thor movie was weird to begin with, and they shoehorned a stupid love interest, and it became a stupid gag focus of the series.
I agree. The Thor movies, if the 3 Captain America movies are the best the MCU has done in terms of consistency and world building and quality so far, the Thor movies are by far the worst.
Well, they're
so far
the most inconsistent. That is true. Even though I do like the first Thor movie, I got to tell you, I liked the beginning better when they were dealing with the Frost Giants and when they were dealing with Asgard. I love the stuff on Asgard. I don't need you to go to Earth right now.
Yeah, I know. I was the same way. Like,
yeah.
You're telling me a story about Norse gods. Make them Norse god related.
That also, by the way, I don't know if you guys, there was a game called Marvel Ultimate Alliance about 20 years ago, and I loved it. Played it ad nauseum for like a year. Just that was the only game that existed. That happens to me though. Like I played Batman Arkham City until I 100%ed it. I just kept doing and doing it. I love it, and I'll still play it now. I just love superhero games. But the thing is this first Marvel Ultimate Alliance game comes out, and it takes you to Atlantis, and it takes you to Asgard, and it takes you to Hell, and it takes you off world to the Skrull world, and then Ultimate Alliance comes and it takes you to Brooklyn, and it takes you to Manhattan. It takes you to the sewers. I'm like, so dull. I think you end up in Wakanda at a certain point. I forgot it. It was point being, it was nowhere near as memorable or enjoyable as the first one.
I will say that I think the Thor franchise benefits massively from Ragnarok, and I think this is why it makes sense for Thor to be the only character who gets more than a trilogy because they essentially probably should take a mulligan on the first two because the first two didn't know what they were doing. And it took Taika Waititi being weird to show them kind of the direction they should have gone all along, which is go full Jack Kirby, go full cosmic weirdness.
There you go. So anyway, gang, we're about to hit the hour mark, so I'm gonna call this. I think it was pretty good, and we're kind of off the rails. We're not talking about WandaVision anymore. So thank you very much for hanging out with us and listening to us talk about the show. It's amazing so far, in my opinion. Loving it. I'm assuming you're on the same page, considering you didn't.
Yeah, I've been saying for years that the street level stuff is great and all, but I come to comics for the cosmic and metaphysical weirdness, so give me some of that. And this show, especially after the disappointment that was Endgame, is really it's curing my black pilledness that Endgame gave me. So that's always good.
So would you be interested in hitting every show every week?
Yeah, I think from here on we definitely could, because the problem with some of the ones earlier is there wasn't really enough to dig into. But now that now that the curtain is coming up on the actual plot, I think there'll be plenty to go through, especially if they keep upping the ante as much as they have been consistently throughout the show.
And if you guys want us to do another TV show that's already been produced, it would probably be done in a long form video rather than episode to episode. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for hanging out and helping the conversation go forward. Dalton, thanks for jumping in onto this impromptu live stream. It was literally like, I got to talk to somebody. And nobody in my family had seen the show, and Gail couldn't care less. So I was like,
I'm feeling very smug right now with just how much I told people so. Because I knew as soon as the first episode showed that this is roughly where we were going to go. I didn't know how far they would go with it, but I knew this was roughly the direction we were heading in. So I told you so, you skeptical sons of you know what.
Yeah. So anyway, once again, guys, thank you very, very much for hanging out with us, and as always, thank you very, very much for watching. And for those of you on the Homegrown Tourist, have a zippity-doo-dah day.